Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Ketuo Mini Griffin. Right off the bat, when I unboxed this knife, I kept saying, where's the tool for the pivot and for this screw back here? Surely. And I was looking all over it. I saw this, and I speculated that possibly the backspacer was the tool. Those are unboxings. Of course, I don't, know what's going on there. And of course, I always take time to, I go in blind, and then I take time to experience the knife and learn about it, and then ultimately review it. And I just want to say, nobody who was screaming in the comments that this button magically released the backspacer and the backspacer was the tool, not a single one of you was correct. But the confidence that people had, people love to jump in on those unboxings, and you idiot, obviously all you have to do is do that. Sometimes I miss stuff, but it's happened in the past, and I think, if you don't know, like, that's the whole purpose of the that's part of the purpose of the unboxing, is just to sort of experience it for the first time and let people know it's there, and then ultimately do a full comprehensive review with all of those details. But a lot of times, people in those unboxings really get overconfident about things they assume that I'm missing. Nobody who said that was right. That is not a button. It does not release a magic secret tool. It is actually the case that this should have a, there are like tool heads, bit heads that look like this, and it wouldn't be that hard to, find something like that. But they just don't include that tool. This looks like a proprietary thing, and this is a cool knife, and it's a premium knife, and it's made well. It's really interesting, but I think they really missed the mark here by not providing this tool. And ultimately, really, it's not even that. It's just like, why do we have this semi-proprietary hardware at all? Like, why are we doing this? It's not really that designy or anything like that. It's just frustrating, and in this case, it actually led people to believe that there was some sort of secret button you could push. There is factually not. It just is, unfortunately, that way. This is still a good knife, though, and you can find ways to disassemble it pretty easily, whether you buy the bit that's the appropriate size, or you just use a smaller flathead and you're okay with it just kind of screwing up the pivot a little bit. But yeah, it is a knife that's available, and I think the price tag on it is pretty good. I'll link it down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Thanks to Ketuo for sending in the Mini Griffin. And please make sure your notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and measure it. Overall length of this guy is coming in at 7 inches. Blade length is coming in at 3 inches. Cutting edge is coming in at 2.5. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. Up against the 8010 and my own Excalibur, you can see here, this guy is, I'd call it a medium-sized knife. Now, this is the Mini, which almost always implies that there is a larger version of this knife, and there is. If you're looking at this knife and thinking it's cool, I would like it if it was bigger. They have a bigger one. As to my knowledge, it's available, so I'll try to have that linked as well. This isn't a mini knife in the sense of what people consider like mini, like itty bitty. It's just a mini version of the original size. So smaller definitely than the 8.5-inch 8010 and Excalibur. Let's go ahead and put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3, much closer to the size of the Para 3, just a hair shorter, just a 1/4 inch shorter there. And then finally, let's put it up against the Benchmade Grip Tool, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How is the action on this guy? Well, as you can see here, and if we can, I wonder if I can get this engagement, if I can actually show it. Your lock face is right here. And when this blade is in the open position, the lock face ends up completely upside down right there. You can actually see it engaging right there. So it is not a top liner lock, and to my knowledge does not engage at all behind, right? So I'm just trying to showcase here. There's not like, it's not like up underneath here. Like the lock face is that shiny part right there. That's where it's engaging. So Not a top liner lock, but a button operated liner lock with good geometry nonetheless. Some of those are pretty hard. That's fine. That's good enough for me. If you need this thing to, rip a railroad track out of the ground in order to prove its durability, well, then you can go on that ridiculous quest. But for me, and considering what I'm going to do with it, that is enough for me. So that's fine. I don't necessarily care about it being a top liner lock. I think the top liner lock engagement, given enough tension, is potentially quite a bit stronger than the simple geometry of a liner lock. But as long as it can hold up to that, that's fine. And I think the fact that we just have the button operated locking system in the first place that is not a plunge lock, which is the weakest version of button operated anything, I think that's good. It feels very clicky. It feels very strong. We also have a rear flipper. We have a front flipper that works pretty well, and you can just push the button. You can also use the opening hole there to reverse flick it or forward flick it. And yeah, you can just push the button and sort of Uncle Harry whip it out if you want to, right? Uncle Larry, I think is what I usually say. So that's fine. Fidget factor's there. Quality of action, there's a detent's good. Feels good. Minimal and periodic stick. Like you can see right here, it's doing it. A little bit. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. I think over time that'll work itself out. But overall, the action is very good. Carry profile, thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here it's just a hair thinner. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is a very easy knife to carry, very lightweight, very compact, not a big object. What are we looking at for materials? These come coated and non-coated, by the way. So we actually have M390, and in this case we have blue anodized titanium with blue carbon fiber. They did only, no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. They did it on both sides. That's cool. But you can get the regular one. There's a bunch of different colors. If you use the link, you can see all the different color combinations and the coating and the non-coated ones and the coated ones and all of that. But titanium, carbon fiber, and M390, which I think it's printed on the blade, but I know it's also printed on the box right there. So anyways, that's what you're looking at for materials. And then also a titanium backspacer, titanium pocket clip. And I think most of the hardware is also going to be titanium. So lots of milling on the inside for weight reduction as well, even with those carbon fiber pockets. So the weight on this guy is coming in at 3.5 ounces, which is, pretty good considering the blade length. Balance is right about where you're going to have your index finger, so that's fine. All in all, pretty good. Feels like a fairly compact, not too heavy, lightweight EDC. A little heavier than a lot of other knives that are the same size, but for full titanium, not bad. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. So these weird things, it's like whatever. And truthfully, there's probably a size of hex that fits in there. If it has both the flat on the top and bottom, you could probably just fit a simple hex in there. In fact, we probably could test that theory with these here. There was another company who did that. It looks like, really cool and proprietary, but in reality, it's just a simple head that fits in there. I just don't know exactly what size they would want. This is probably going to be too big, yeah. But we can get close and find out if that's actually the case there, because surely I've got one of those. Well, I don't know how all of these are ending up being. I don't have any of the smaller size hex in here, which doesn't make this hardly doesn't make any sense at all. But it could be that is the whole idea, is that it is actually a simple head. Let's try this smaller one here with the smaller screw. How about the small with the big? That's actually still too big. But it's possible that would fit. And here's what I mean. The top, yeah. So you have a flat on top and you have a flat on the bottom. Now I don't know if that would be enough engagement realistically to actually turn it without messing it up or like stripping. But it's totally possible. I feel like I should have one size smaller here that would potentially fit. Maybe it's this right here. Try this last one and then I'll stop talking about it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does. Should we try to turn it? So here's what I mean. We've got the little hex. I'm not sure what size. We stick it in there. And there's enough engagement here, right? And it does turn it. Just like that. So you do not necessarily need a special, I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. You don't necessarily need a special tool. They did kind of give it, that look, and then you're able to fit pretty common, like the hex things in there and turn it. And let's see if I can get it back in and get it tight without messing up any part of it or giving it a little, blemish or anything like that, which doesn't really matter. The only problem here is that the head like slides around a little bit. It slides back and forth. Yeah, it's totally fine. So there you go. You can do that. But again, no, none of you. Metal Complex obviously are missing things. With my keen eyes, my keen insight, obviously you just need to put the button right there, and it's obviously just a backspacer. No, it wasn't. You didn't know. I'm just messing around. I'm just pulling your leg. Come on now. It's real easy to be super confident when you're in the, Yeah, it's really easy to be real confident. If it was me, I obviously would have noticed with my eagle vision. Okay, enough of that. Yeah, there you go. So you have whatever, and then you have your Torx, your T6. Same with the T6 on the pocket clip there. So far from impossible to take apart, and actually pretty simple and pretty easy to put back together. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. So. Anyways, we did the carry profile, we did the weight. Oh, we need to measure the blade stock thickness, and then we'll move on. Let's see here. 125. Oh, thinner. 116. Okay. Meat and potatoes time. It's a pretty ugly knife, isn't it? I read that a lot in comments, and I think people who look at this and just like that's the first thing that they see is that it's kind of ugly. Yeah, it is. Now, in the same way that like a Spyderco knife, it's not the same aesthetic, but like I think even today, the PM2 and the Para 3 in particular are not they're not good looking knives. But I'm blinded because I know now how utilitarian they are. Incredibly ergonomic, incredibly functional, just like intuitive with the locking system. It's just really good, right? I love my Para 3. Freaking ugly knife, though. This guy, I saw another level of ugly, but it's kind of the same thing. Not as comfortable in choke up spot as the Para 3. Not as comfortable anywhere, but my God, is it easy to manipulate. Despite the fact that this is not an aesthetically pleasing knife, that was dulled a little bit for me after I realized, like, it's pretty fun to play with. Like, it's really, everything feels really solid. Everything's really smooth. It's just really easy to operate. I found myself just kind of sitting here playing with it. And that was the case when I was carrying it, which was just for a couple of days. But yeah, so if you're somebody who really likes fidget factor, like if you're looking at this and thinking it's a really ugly knife, but like you're really into fidget factor and it goes a long ways for you, this might do it for you. It might, become that knife that you just love, not because of how it looks, but because of how many options you have when it comes to manipulation. On the subject of ergonomics, it's okay. Like none of the lock-in spots feel like really great, but they don't feel bad. Like nothing's uncomfortable. It's just kind of like, oh, I guess that's where my finger goes. Okay. Back here, a little more organic. I got my pinky hanging off the edge. If you want a full grip, you kind of have to do this. It's okay. The jimping, I think, would have been more useful, like way up here. Even back here, it's pretty much non-existent. I don't know why companies like, even like using the front flipper, this is basically just aesthetic jimping. It's just decorative. I don't know why, like, give us jimping. Like, it needs to create traction. This doesn't create any traction whatsoever, so I don't know what the purpose of that is. Same way with back here. There's just there's no traction there. I like that there's an inlay. I like that they're doing some fun stuff in here, right? It's not, they didn't just leave it incredibly simple like they could have. The blade, yeah, it's not the most appealing blade shape. This is very like geometry. It's just sort of like random like shapes and edges slammed into each other. And then the final product actually does look pretty consistent between the blade and the handle. It looks like it kind of flows. The edge, it does get reasonably thin behind the edge. Factory edge is nice and sharp. It's a, after you get past all of this, it is a pretty simple, just like modified drop point blade with a nice little flat there, right? There's nothing else really going on. We have the designer logo there, which actually it does say on the box, David Jin. So there you go. Interesting that they are using 6AL4V titanium. That's American titanium. That's USA made titanium. With this being a Chinese knife, they obviously have access to TC4, which is Chinese grade 2. 6AL4V is US grade 5. Turns out they're exactly the same thing. One's made in China, one's made in the United States. For whatever reason, Ketuo is using 6AL4V, like a lot of other, there's a lot of Chinese companies that do that, but okay, there you go. We have, it says Griffin, it says the name of it on there, which is, I don't know why they feel like they need to do that, but okay. And then I think right here, is that the Ketuo logo? Yeah, it is. It's right there. Subtle. I like that. Backspacer, a lot going on with the backspacer. We do have the lanyard hole there. That's fine. Doesn't really get in the way of anything. Pocket clip looks like it would be stiff. It's not. Actually, in and out of the pocket is pretty easy with this guy. Once again, this is not a button. Everybody who said that this was a button was wrong. You're wrong about that. So you just need to know that. You need to live with that this is not a button, and that was not an accurate insight. Oh, man. I went back and looked at the comments on that because I don't think I had really read. I went in and I was like, oh my God, people are really jumping on me for this. So I made a point. I was like, when I review it, I'm going to bring it up a million times. We have a stop pin located in its usual position. It's interesting here that the button or that big rod that's connected with the liner lock also is shouldered underneath the blade here, underneath the flipper tab. And then you have open position shouldering that's actual contact on the stop pin with the blade there. So there you go. No blade play up, down, left, or right. Little bit of periodic stick, not bad. No pivot lash. Smooth and consistent in here. Absolutely incredible detent. And then we have, looks like maybe centering that's favoring, maybe an optical illusion there. It looks pretty centered. If anything, maybe slightly off to the left. But again, my eyes could be playing tricks on me. No detent lash. Ugly knife. Completely and totally functional and capable, and obviously beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so that really should only if you like how it looks, then you don't have to listen to anything I say, and if you don't like how it looks, there's nothing really that you can really do about people who like how it looks. That's just it. The world is full of people who have different thoughts, right? So you just have to accept that your thought might not be universal. I try to do that all the time. It's kind of hard, right? I try to. This is a weird upload. $200. Is that fair? I think so. Yeah. A lot of other companies delivering a similar product at $200, they just end up with a dramatically more boring product. And in some cases, the aesthetic is more, catered to the average person, right? So if that's where you'd rather spend your money, then I'd say go ahead. But I think $200, it's really, the base price is $195. I think that's pretty fair. The biggest factor here is the options for deployment, the fidget factor. You can deploy this thing pretty much however you want. The worst one is the front flipper because the jimping is basically non-existent, but everything else is really, it feels very, very convenient to deploy and use. In a general sense, do I recommend this to everybody? I think the aesthetic is going to be really polarizing, but I think the knife itself is a good design. The hardware thing is a little bit weird. The jimping thing bothers me just a little bit. I don't know. Outside of that, I think it's just fine. There's a lot of really good knives nowadays for $200, so I'd say shop around. I don't think there's any reason to be, kicking down doors to get this one over everything else. But I think if you choose this knife, you didn't make a bad choice. I think overall it's a pretty good knife. That's going to be it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.